It is so good to see you. This is the year of Tom Green. Is this correct?
Well, it's like sure, let's do that. Let's go with that for sure.
Listen, I will go with it because all three offerings are fantastic. And I do want to start with the documentary. That's where I plowed in first. And I love the fact that I think your mom and myself are like one of a kind because the question in my mind was, why on earth would he make his own documentary? And this is the first thing that your mother says. Isn't it unusual that somebody would making their own doc? So having gone there, Tom, and after watching it, I had a completely different opinion. I thought you did an amazing job. Did this not scare you to think, maybe I shouldn't put that in? I don't want to show myself this way or that way.
Yeah, sure. It totally scared me. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of thought went into whether or not I was going to do it or not. It was a massive amount of work, just as far as time goes. But then, when I kind of considered the complexity of the story and the amount of footage that I had that I've kept over the last, many years, nobody really knows where that footage is and what's in that footage. So yeah, it was definitely. It was definitely. So I'm just going to move here. It was definitely a. I'm walking around my new cabin here, by the way, my house,
It's lovely.
And
I know we get to see a bit of it in your series too.
see it
But
on the
wow,
show, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great being back in Canada. So, yeah, but yeah, no, it's for sure. It was a lot of thought went into it. I've kept all of my shows over the last 20, 30 years. I've kept all of my footage,
yeah,
and it's been in storage. And it's probably 10,000 hours of video
yeah,
at least, and it's just kind of there's a lot of very specific things that I wanted in the documentary, and there's also just a certain story I wanted to tell. There's a lot of things that it was impossible to put everything in that would have there's a lot of funny stuff that I was not able to put in. So figuring out that balance was something that I don't think would have been easy for anybody other than me to really do because I was there the whole time.
well, for sure, exactly. And I think you did. Like I said, I commend you. I think you did a phenomenal job in really showing us who you are, who you were. And I gotta give props to your parents because I was thinking, where does Tom Green get his humor from? I think your mom is a pretty funny person.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've always kind of definitely always considered that sort of our family dynamic was a huge part of the Tom Green show, even back in the day when I was pulling all those pranks.
Yes.
Um, their reaction was kind of the reason it was so funny, and the way they would react to the pranks always included a little bit of sort of witty responses and sort of a so that dynamic was important, and this is the first time that they've been on the show willingly. So
Yeah.
not to mention my mom's actually she was a journalism degree from Ryerson and at the time Ryerson Polytechnical Institute. I know it's changed names a few times since, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so she worked as a writer and an editor in various capacities throughout her career, but she's never actually worked for the show. So it was kind of fun on Tom Green Country where we actually kind of produced and organized the show a little bit together as well. So,
Yeah. Going back on all of that footage, Tom, I was wondering what surprised you most about yourself?
well, one thing that's surprising when I watched the finished product after, working on this for a few years is, wow. I mean, I never really did quit. Like at some point, there's a lot of times where I kind of think, geez, a logical, sane person might have quit at that point. Whether
Yeah.
it was, various stages along the way, even going back to when I was a kid and doing my rap group, Organized Rhyme, and then we lost our record deal. I could have quit there and started my show, and that had various manifestations of the Tom Green Show before it went to MTV and really kind of took off. So we
Yeah.
did the pilot for the CBC, and then we were on the Comedy Network, and we were on Rogers Cable. So I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's just it's been been I have a real passion for just the process of making video and
Mm,
music and using technology to do that. So I think that's the jumping off point. Why I didn't quit was I actually enjoy the process of it, and
yeah.
yeah. But I would say that surprised me a little bit. Sometimes I look at it when you see it all together and you see this sort of 35-year span of my life of me making all these little videos and shows and movies, and you start to go like, wow, that was a lot of work. I'm surprised I didn't quit when this one didn't perfectly go the way I wanted it to, or that one didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
But I guess there's not really still any plan B for me. I don't really have any other sort of anything else I'd really want to do. So I guess that might be part of it.
Well, you were ahead of your time. I gotta say, like I said, I loved reliving your life with you because I was used to, well, many moons ago, was the producer, the entertainment producer back at Global Television. And I remember having you on with Bob McAdory, and
Yeah.
you were great, but then you commandeered the News at Noon cooking segment. And I thought I was going to lose my job, like honestly. And it was all fine, don't worry. But now I think back on it and I go, oh my God, good on you for just being you, you know?
Yeah, I think it was maybe like a combination of, uh, when I was younger, obviously, I was in my 20s, and
Yes.
I was very somewhat maybe naive to the fact that, maybe a kid from Ottawa coming into Global News to do a cooking segment, I was thinking in my head, oh, what would Steve Martin or Jim Carrey do? They'd
Right.
probably commandeer the cooking segment. But, I wasn't really thinking that like maybe the producer of the show was just not thinking that this is not Jim Carrey. This is some kid from Ottawa. What's he doing to my cooking? So
Yeah.
so I kind of like, I always did that when I would go on a talk show or something like that. I would sort of look at it like I have to sort of disrupt the sort of traditional way these things are structured, and that confusion would be kind of the joke, right?
Yeah.
Um, in hindsight, I do look back at it, and I talked about it a bit in the documentary. I was said it to my
Yes.
mom on my, in hindsight, I look back and go, oh, maybe I should have just gone on to that cooking segment on Global and just been a normal guy and made some, beef stroganoff or whatever we were making that day.
No, then you wouldn't have been you. Now that I can look back on it,
Yeah.
I'm happy that you did it. You know what I mean? Like you were always true to
Mm.
yourself. Okay, we only have a couple minutes and I want to talk about the other two things. Okay, so the docu-series is you coming home. You're back in Ontario. We're happy to have you back. Why did you decide to do this as well and show us this side of your life where you are now?
Um, well, it's kind of funny how it all happened. I was on that show, Laugh Out Loud Canada, and had a great
Yeah.
time on there and on Prime. And I had just moved back. I just got the farm here, and I had sort of simultaneous entry with Matador, the production company, and also I've been just in the process of launching my new production company because part of what I'm excited about being back in Canada is producing content and shows
Yeah,
and films up here,
for
and
sure.
so because that was all underway, I really did have this idea that this would be a really um, nice place to film.
Mm,
I've always sort of made my life part of my shows, and honestly, there's a lot of Canadian pride that I feel moving back to Canada, and in this day and age with social media and my life being kind of lived online a lot, and I tour
mm,
the world doing stand up. The decision to leave Los Angeles, long before these horrendous fires
yeah,
and this tragedy, but I was just leaving because I wasn't leaving because I was wanting to leave LA as much as I was leaving because I wanted to live in Canada. I wanted to be close to my family,
yeah,
and I started noticing on my social media that like my audience on social media is about 80% American, and the second biggest group is Canadians, and so I always find it kind of somewhat amusing when I go ride my mule Fanny, or when I go at the time just go for a walk in the woods, and everybody will ask me, "What state are you in? What state is this?" You know, and people just assume I'm in America because I'm riding around on a mule. You know,
Right.
but but and it's kind of I kind of find it kind of sort of a fun thing to show Americans this part of Canada, this side of Canada, which a lot in this day and age there's a lot of misinformation about what Canada is,
Yeah.
and so you know that's kind of where it all started, and you know the stand-up special was a decision to do that later. We were already in production on the show and the documentary, and I was still touring and doing stand-up, and we asked Prime if they wanted to all make it a
Yeah.
trifecta and do my stand-up special. I was ready to shoot it, so we shot that at the National Arts Center too, and it's been great. So
Yeah. And listen, I just, yeah, and being able to do it in Ottawa. Wow. I mean, bringing it all home.
yeah, it was really cool. It was really an honor to be able to go perform at the National Arts Center. It's a beautiful venue, perfect for comedy. Yeah, it was great. I wanted to kind of do it in my hometown just because it's sort of the theme of the show. If you listen to the
Yeah.
music on the shows, a lot of the lyrics in the songs that are playing in the shows, I recorded and myself and wrote, and they're sort of about returning home to Canada and returning home to family and where you feel most comfortable. So
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, it's great to have you back. We'll take you with open arms, that's for sure. All three offerings are fantastic. I really, really thank you for that. And thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much.
thank you.